The wind howled like a pack of rabid wolves, tearing at my buffalo hide coat as if it wanted to strip me bare and feast on my bones. That blizzard hit harder than a mule's kick, blinding me with sheets of snow that stung like buckshot. I was on my eastern circuit, 3 hours out from Whispering Pines. That godforsaken speck of a town hunkered down in a valley where the Rockies met the plains like too old. Enemies shaking hands over a grave. My name's Elijah Thorne, folks call me Eline at 35. I felt like I'd lived 3 lifetimes, each one etched deeper into my soul by the Indian wars that had left me hollowed out, chasing ghosts in the silence. What would you do if you were me? Reins frozen in your grip, your horse thunder snorting steam into the gale. And suddenly, through the whiteout, you spot a twisted shape in the drifts. Not just any shape, a woman. Navajo by the look of her proud cheekbones and the faded turquoise beads glinting like forgotten stars on her shredded buckskin dress. Her body was curled up against a barren cottonwood, limbs akimbo from what looked like a savage beating, blood freezing in crimson rivulets on her skin. And then cutting through the storm's roar, gunshots cracked in the distance sharp, deliberate echoes that said her attackers weren't done yet. Might be circling back to finish the job. My heart slammed against my ribs like a trapped animal. Instinct screamed trap. Fresh boot prints, half buried by the swirling snow, trailed off into the white void, vanishing like whispers. I gripped my peacemaker, the cold metal biting into my palm through my gloves, and scanned the horizon. Thunder tossed his head, his black coat dusted white. Smarter than half the fools back in town, he knew danger when it reeked this strong. Was it outlaws? Ranch hands settling some grudge? Or worse, remnants of those Navajo skirmishes that had bloodied the valley last summer, leaving folks in Whispering Pines spitting venom at anyone with copper skin. I should have ridden on. That's what a sane man does in a storm like this. Survive first, ask questions. Never. But something rooted me there, deeper than the frost in the ground. Maybe it was the wars echoing in my head. Those endless fields of mud and smoke where I'd watched good men bleed out, their eyes pleading for mercy that never came. I remembered Billy Hargrove, that scrawny Texas kid. Barely 18, gut shot at Sand Creek, whispering about his mama's apple pie as his life slipped away in the dirt. "Don't leave me, Eli," he'd gasped, his hand clutching mine like a lifeline. I hadn't left him then, held him till the end. But it haunted me, the ones I couldn't save. The faces that stared back from my nightmares. This woman. She wasn't Billy, but damn if her frailty didn't twist the knife. Her raven hair was crusted with snow, fanned out like a broken wing, and her skin was pale as frostbite. Lips blue, tinged and cracked. Up close, the brutality hit me like a gut punch. Gashes from whips crisscrossing her arms. Swollen bruises blooming purple and black across her exposed shoulder, her dress torn as if clawed by beasts. Sadistic hands had done this, stripped her, beaten her, left her exposed to the elements like she was nothing more than discarded trash. My blood boiled, a searing rage hotter than any blacksmith's forge. The kind that makes a man vow justice, even if it costs him everything. I dismounted, boots sinking deep into the powder with a crunch that echoed too loud in a muffled world. Thunder stamped uneasily, his eyes rolling white. Those gunshots, 3 more cracked, closer now, maybe a mile off, muffled by the wind, but unmistakable. Were they hunting her? Or me, now that I'd stumbled into this? My P's voice rumbled in my head. That old blacksmith's drawl from back in Missouri? Right's right, boy. Especially when it hurts like hell. He'd hammered that into me over the anvil, sparks flying like stars. Teaching me a man's worth ain't in what he takes, but in what he gives. Even when the world's kicking dirt in his face. Kneeling beside her, I pulled off a glove, my fingers numb as I pressed them to her neck. For a heartbeat, nothing. Just the storm's fury and my own pulse thundering. Then, a whispered beat, fragile as a dying ember in the wind. She was alive, barely, clinging like a spark, refusing to go out. Her eyes cracked open for a split second, dark pools of agony. Voids that swallowed the light before, fluttering shut with a faint gasp. A plea so soft it might have been the wind. "Help! Double quotes, or maybe just a breath. But it pierced me deeper than any bullet, risking it all in a town like Whispering Pines. Hell, the place was a powder keg after those skirmishes. Folks like old Harlan at the general store, with his pinched face and Bible-thumping wife Mabel, they'd see a Navajo woman and scream savage, forgetting the raids were as much white greed as red revenge. And Deputy Zeke, my right-hand man back in town, good soul, green as spring grass heat, warned me this could end my badge, my life. But leaving her, that'd make me no better than the monsters who'd done this. No, I'd carry her. Consequences be damned. I hoisted her frail frame into my arms. She was lighter than a sack of feathers. Bones sharp under her skin, her body stiff as frozen timber. A shudder ran through her, and she went limp, a dead weight that felt heavier than the world. Wrapping her in my coat, the buffalo hide still holding my warmth, I mounted Thunder, pressing her against my chest. Her ragged breaths were a desperate rhythm against my heart. Each one a small victory, each pause a terror that clawed at my gut. The storm intensified, snow lashing like whips, the cold sneaking through like a thief's blade, pricking my skin with icy needles. Thunder plowed forward, his sturdy black frame a rock in the chaos. But the ride was hell 3 hours back to my shack, or what felt like eternity in this white inferno. Gunshots echoed again, sporadic now, like taunts from ghosts. Were they closing in? My mind raced with shadows. Outlaws from the Bartee Ranch. Maybe those hard cases led by that snake-eyed foreman, Rafe Colton, who'd been stirring trouble over land disputes with the tribes. Or vigilantes, drunk on frontier justice. I muttered fervent prayers to a god I'd long ignored. Words tumbling out clumsy and raw. Lord, if you're up there, don't let her fade. I've seen enough death. Give me this one life to save. Bargaining like a fool. But in that moment, with her warmth seeping away, it was all I had. Memories flooded me as we rode, unbidden and sharp. The wars had stripped me bare, left me chasing silence out here to mute the screams. I'd come west after Appomattox, saddlebags light, heart heavy, figuring the vastness would swallow my demons. But Whispering Pines was no havenge, just a roar fight, against blizzards that buried men alive, outlaws who rustled cattle and souls, and my own shadows that whispered failure in the night. My shack, that rugged fortress of logs and solitude, sat perched on a ridge. 3 hours from town of choice, not a curse, or so I told myself. No woman had warmed it since Sarah, my fiancée back east, who'd sent a letter ending things while I was knee-deep in blood at Gettysburg. I can't wait for a ghost, she'd written. Fair enough. I'd become one. But this Navajo woman, Kaya, I'd learn later. Though right then she was just a stranger's fragile spark, she stirred something long buried. Not pity, exactly, but a fierce protectiveness, like guarding a flame in the dark. Her scent faint under the blood and snow sage and earth clung to me, evoking a pull I couldn't name. Was it the curve of her cheek, proud even in pain? Or the way her hand twitched against my chest, seeking warmth? My heart ached with it, a mix of rage at her tormentors and a tender ache that scared me. Love. Hell, too soon for that word, but in the West. Feelings hit like lightning sudden. Scorching, life-changing, halfway home. The storm turned vicious, visibility gone. Thunder stumbling in drifts up to his belly. A crack, another gunshot. Thunder. No, rifle fire closer, the whine of a bullet zipping past my ear. Ambush. I spurred Thunder off the trail into a gully shadowed by pines, heart pounding. Her body jolted in my arms, a soft moan escaping her lips. Hold on, I growled, more to myself. Peering back, shapes moved in the white 2 riders, maybe 3, cloaked in the blizzard. Rafe's men, or bounty hunters chasing tribal runaways. I drew my peacemaker, firing blind into the storm 2 shots, the recoil jarring my arm. A yelp echoed, then silence swallowed them. We pushed on, adrenaline burning hotter than the cold. By the time my shack's chimney smoke pierced the haze of thin gray lifeline, against the darkening sky exhaustion clawed at me. I burst through the door, slamming it against the tempest, the warmth inside a blessed shock after the freeze. Laying her on my lone cot, I drew heavy wool blankets over her still form, her breath's shallow hitches that tore at my chest. The shack was sparse, a cast-iron stove, a rough-hewn table, my rifle rack, and a shelf of dog-eared books Whitman and Twain, escapes from the grit. No frills, just survival. Stoking the fire till it roared, I lit the kerosene lamp, its flickering glow casting long shadows. That's when the full horror revealed itself. Livid welts across her torso where the buckskin gaped, raw and weeping. Swollen bruises like storm clouds on her thighs, and on her arm, a seared ranch brand, jagged and deliberate, like she'd been marked as cattle. My stomach churned, fists clenching till knuckles whitened. Who'd done this, slavers? Ranchers claiming justice? The brand looked like the Circle K's Mark Kurt Langley's outfit. That ruthless cattle baron who'd been pushing boundaries onto reservation land. If it was him, ... rage boiled over. But I shoved it down, focusing on her. Brewing thin elk stew from my stores, I sat beside the cot, lifting her head gently. Her eyes flickered open again, those dark voids, now holding a spark of awareness, fear mingling with confusion. "Easy," I murmured, my voice rough from disuse, thick with emotion I hadn't felt in years. "You're safe here. Name's Eli Thorne, sheriff of these parts. Ain't no one gonna hurt you now." She didn't speak, just stared, her gaze piercing my soul, searching for lies. I spooned stew to her lips. She sipped warily, each swallow a victory. In that moment, watching her fight for every breath, something shifted in me, a crack in the armor I'd built. Not just duty, but a pull, magnetic and terrifying, like the first stirrings of a love that could heal or destroy. Her hand brushed mine, cold but alive, and my heart skipped. Visions flashing, her laughing under summer suns, mending my broken spirit. Foolish dreams, but in the West, dreams were all that kept a man going. Outside, the blizzard raged on, but inside, with her under my roof, my solitary world felt crowded with possibility and peril. Those gunshots haunted me. They'd come looking. Zeke would ride out tomorrow if I didn't check in, his boyish face creased with worry. And Harlan? He'd spread word like wildfire. But for now, she was here, alive because I'd chosen right over easy. As I kept vigil through the night, rifle across my lap, her even breaths lulling me, I wondered, what storm had I invited in? And could my scarred heart weather it? The night dragged, the wind clawing at the walls like fingers of the dead. I dozed fitfully in my armchair, the fire popping and hissing, casting her face in golden hues. She whimpered in her sleep, fever dreams twisting her features, nightmares of whips and brands, I reckoned. Each sound jolted me awake, hand on my peacemaker, ears straining for boots in the snow. Who was she? A runaway from the reservation? A victim of Langley's land grabs? The Navajo skirmishes had left scars on both sides, whites losing livestock, natives their homes. Whispering pines simmered with it, folks like Mabel Croft preaching an eye for an eye from her pew. While Harlan tallied profits from fear-mongered supplies, dawn crept in gray and muted, the storm easing to flurries. Her fever broke sometime in the wee hours. Color seeped back into her cheeks, faint but real. I stepped out for water, axe breaking ice in the barrel, my breath fogging like smoke. Tracks fresh ones circling the shack. Not animal. Human, booted, leading off toward the ridge. My gut twisted. They'd found us. Rafe or Langley? I saddled thunder quick, but a rifle glint in the trees stopped me cold. A shot rang out, splintering wood by my head. I dove behind the woodpile, returning fire crack to acrid smoke burning my nostrils. A grunt, a body slumping in the snow. The other fled, horse galloping into the white. Back inside, heart hammering, I barred the door. She was awake, propped up, eyes wide with terror. "They're coming," she whispered, voice hoarse as gravel, arc, accent rich with the cadence of her people. I nodded, reloading. Not if I have anything to say about it. Our eyes locked, and in that shared fear, A spark ignited trust's fragile seed. But deeper, something warmer stirred in my chest, a longing I'd thought war had killed. Her strength, even broken, drew me like a moth to flame. Love in the West ain't flowery poems. It's forged in fire, tested in blood. As the sun climbed, weak and watery, I tended her wounds with what salve I had, my touch gentle, mindful of her flinches. "What's your name?" I asked softly. "Kaya," she murmured, her dark eyes holding mine. A world of stories unspoken, Kaya. It settled in me like a promise. Outside, the world waited with its hatreds and storms. But here, in this shack, we'd face it together. Little did I know, this was just the beginning of healing. Of love that defied the odds, of a fight that would test every fiber of my being.